No society can be more important than the individuals who compose it, or else you ascribe supreme importance not to man, but to any notion that strikes the fancy of that society, at a never-ending cost to lives. The book I'm doing, Faith of the Fallen by Terry Goodkind. It's the 5th book in a series. If you're interested, the first book is Wizard's First Rule. Now, the reason why I chose that quote is because it basically summarizes the theme of the story in one short little paragraph. We'll get to that later. The characters in this book are multiple and complex, to say the least. Let me start out with the most important, Richard Cypher. He goes by another name, but I'm going to call him Richard Cypher because it'll give away, his real name will give away the first book. The story begins as Richard is taken away by the sorceress Nikki. Richard is in the mountains with his love Kaylin when he was taken away, kidnapped. Nikki wants to use Richard to find an answer to a question. Confusingly, she doesn't even know the question that she wants answered, but she knows that Richard can answer it. Nikki takes him to the distant old world, specifically to its capital, Alter Rang. The Imperial Order. The Imperial Order is in control of Alter Rang in the old world. Now, it is run by their Emperor Jagain, who is crazy, to say the least. Now, what they believe is that life is suffering because humans are inherently evil, and we redeem ourselves in this world by enslaving ourselves to others. And they believe that suffering is a good thing. Nikki's a firm believer of this and takes Richard to the city of Alter Rang to experience this. A long series of events follows, and Richard eventually strikes back. But I can't tell you that without giving it away. Now, you may remember that when Richard was kidnapped, he was taken away from his love, Kaylin. Kaylin isn't sitting idly by. She goes to Dahara with the protector, Kara, a Mord Sith, and they travel to the Dahara army, who's trying to stop the Imperial Order, who's invading the New World. Now, the army is vastly outnumbered, and Kaylin eventually has to leave and goes in search for Richard. She finds him in Alter Rang, to a huge surprise. This book has 2 themes. They interconnect and they're basically the same part, but I split them into 2. Now, the first theme. Freedom is a choice. You have to be able to make your own choices. You can't allow others to do the work for you. You have to fight for your freedom, and you have to hold on to your freedom. You can't just expect to have it. Now, that comes along to our second theme. Reason and logic overrule blind faith. You have to think for yourself. You have to use your head. You can't just go on blind faith. Blind faith is enslavement of the mind. Enslavement does not go well with freedom. Now, Terry Goodkind, from the first book, has used themes like freedom and the human spirit. Now, he is a fiction writer. In fact, he's a fantasy writer. But he uses fantasy and fiction as an outlet for his ideas and his expressions. He gets you hooked on a fantastic storyline with complex characters, and he makes you care about these characters and where this is all going. And then he uses complex ideas like freedom to illustrate his points. It's a very, very, very complex series, but it's extremely enjoyable, and I recommend it to just about anybody.